Welcome back to Film Snob HQ. We're on the road to Avengers Doomsday, and we are now at the end of Phase 5 of the MCU, or the 6th era of Marvel movies, which I have referred to as the course correction phase. It's also the last phase to contain any Sony Marvel films that are not Spider-Man related, but Spider-Man adjacent. We had 15 projects in this phase, and this might have been the most challenging phase so far. I don't subscribe to the fact that Marvel is done. I know a lot of people think that Marvel is all out of ideas and they're putting out terrible content. I don't think they are. I think their movies and TV shows are still quite entertaining. But this was a challenge because there was so many TV shows. It was loaded up with TV shows. Of the 15 projects, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 TV shows, which doesn't sound like a lot. But each of those shows had a minimum 5 episodes. So Echo had 5, most of them had 6, a couple had 9. So it does add up quite quickly, and it really slows down the binge watch. So if you want to watch all your Marvel stuff, it does get a little bit challenging. I would also say it probably does contain the weakest projects of the franchise, even though I like all of them. There are definitely ones that I wouldn't watch as often. So Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which I do enjoy. It's definitely the weakest of its franchise. Secret Invasion, I do like. It's very different to what the comic is, but it is quite slow. The Marvels, I think Kamala is the highlight of that film, but it has to have a weak villain, a more kind of phase 1, phase 2 type villain. Echo was a great series, but it doesn't really progress the overall story forward. It's very much in its own little pocket of the Marvel universe. Madam Web, we've talked about. Deadpool and Wolverine is really fun. I enjoyed it. Maybe more so even than last time, but again, it's not my favorite in the trilogy. And it's very much just kind of a goodbye to the Fox universe. It does a little bit to progress the universe forward. Agatha all along feels like it's going to have a lot more to do later. And then there's a reference to Mephisto, which was paid off in Ironheart. Venom: The Last Dance, again, not my favorite in the series. Kraven the Hunter, great. Captain America: Brave New World, good, but following a really strong trilogy. And Ironheart, quite good as well. But again, those episodics just slow it all down. So in terms of my overall thoughts of it, yes, it was a slower watch for me. So many TV shows really impacts the pacing. Phase 6 also has a lot of TV shows, but Phase 6 isn't over yet. So when we get to Phase 6, we're going to be looking at Wonder Man, which I actually haven't watched before. So Wonder Man, Season 2 of Daredevil, and I think the Punisher special is all we have at the moment, and then Vision Quest later. So definitely less TV than previous, but still more TV than movies thus far in Phase 6. We also had some really strong entries in Phase 5. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I think, is the best of the trilogy, and definitely maybe the best film post-Endgame, the more I think about it. Agatha All Along was a show we weren't expecting. We didn't know why they decided to do this, and I think it's a really great addition to the Marvel Universe and opened it up in a really fun and interesting way and lent into horror a lot more. Daredevil really works quite well, and Season 2 is even better. Thunderbolts gave us a new Avengers team we weren't expecting. My only complaint with Thunderbolts is I think it should have been the film at the end of Phase 4. We introduced all of those characters in Phase 4, and then we forgot about them for a couple of years. Ironheart, I think, was great, as I said as well. So there's still plenty, and Loki, Season 2. The problem with Phase 4, ultimately, that I think is going to impact viewers the most, is not the amount of TV shows or the varying quality of shows, because I think there's something to enjoy about all of them. It's that they had to pivot. At the end of Phase 4, after the shows and movies had been made, Marvel had decided not to move forward with Jonathan Majors following his allegations. He was fired, and they had to decide whether to recast Kang or go in a different direction. I personally would have been happy if they had cast Chuck Waddy from Guardians 3. He played the High Evolutionary. If he had been a Kang variant, I would have been very happy with that. That would have been quite an interesting way to take on it, and a very ruthless performance. I like Jonathan Majors in the role of Kang, but he's very wacky, he's very eccentric, which is fine because he knows everything, he's seen all ends of time, but I didn't get a feel of menace from him. I definitely felt like he knew more than he was letting on, and I was intrigued to know where that story was going, but I wasn't necessarily afraid of him as a character, not the way they found Thanos to be quite scary. And he was done away time and time again in quite easy ways, like stabbed in Loki Season 1, defeated by Ant-Man in Quantumania, turn into a good guy in Loki season 2. So I was wondering where they were going to go with that. I was intrigued. Whereas the High Evolutionary felt evil and scary and has a really menacing look as well. So I thought that might be an interesting way to go. They've decided not to do that. They're doing Doomsday. I'm thrilled about that. Doctor Doom is one of my favorite villains. The Fantastic Four, one of my favorite comic books and set of characters. So I'm very excited to see that as well. The other thing that happened was they wrapped up the Sony universe. Not in the same way Fox did. Fox got absorbed by Disney, and they've kind of with Deadpool and Wolverine said goodbye to that universe and repurposed some of those characters. Sony has announced that they're putting their universe on hold until they figure out their next steps. They didn't have a great box office return for any of their films from this phase. Madam Web was critically panned, did not make a lot of money. I went to Madam Web opening night, and the theater was empty. Venom: The Last Dance I didn't get to see in theaters. I would have loved to have seen it in theaters. I think it's a really fun film, but again, it doesn't quite have the same pacing and tone as the first two. And yeah, I think people were kind of venomed out by the time that one came out. And Kraven the Hunter, they just stopped the marketing, so people didn't know about it. But it is actually quite an enjoyable film. So I'm interested to know where Sony goes from here, whether they start playing nice with Disney and Disney playing nice with them. It's a two-way street after all. And whether they start letting characters like Tom Hardy's Venom show up in Doomsday or Secret Wars. I think that'd be really interesting as well. But at this stage, the only thing that Sony is doing are their animated films. And the Spider-Man. It's a brand new day, obviously. By the time this comes out, brand new day will be out. But right now it's the end of May. So brand new day is still about 2 months away. So yeah, all in all, not a bad phase. Probably the weakest, as I mentioned, of it. But it's got some really wonderful movies in there as well. I'm very tired. I'm going to take a break from Marvel films now. I've got Fantastic Four coming up, which I'm really excited for, but I'm going to take a little break and then start my Phase 6 watch soon. But there's not much left to go. There's Fantastic Four First Steps, Wonder Man, Daredevil Season 2, and Punisher, and then I'm done, I think. I think that's everything. Yeah. But there's definitely a lot of really great things in Phase 5. Thunderbolts and Guardians 3 being, I think, the strongest two movies, for me anyway. But that is it. Phase 6 will commence soon. We won't be able to wrap up Phase 6 until who knows when. I don't know when Phase 6 is due to end at this stage. Secret Wars is out in 2027, so after we get to the end of what's available, there'll be a bit of a break between videos. But yeah, I've got a few things planned. I'll do some tier rankings. I'll tell you everything I watched in one video and tell you all the things I didn't watch, because there's so much stuff I haven't watched. There's a bunch of TV shows like The Gifted and all the Netflix series and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, like tons of stuff that I didn't watch. There's other movies I just didn't have access to, like the Dolph Lundgren Punisher film, the old 80s Captain America movies. Like there's so many things I could not get my hands on. There's a Man-Thing movie from the mid-2000s. So we'll talk about all of that. And what we're looking forward to seeing paid off in Doomsday and Secret Wars, and what we feel like maybe doesn't need to move forward. There'll be a bunch of stuff, and I might even do a Q&A and things like that as well. But that is it for now. That is the end of Phase 5. Thanks for watching along. Next video, Fantastic Four First Steps, one of my favorite MCU films. Very excited.